I present to you the future Mr. and Mrs. Munyon. What I have today after the pre-shuffle is the likes of two very wealthy, well-to-do, perhaps even powerful, influential individuals that are joined together. Perhaps an engagement in this depiction. And it gave me the sense of like an aristocratic marriage or union, like almost so high level and I don't know the word. I had to even look up really a more modern word for aristocrat because I know that's kind of like archaic. But it's like such a high profile, let's say, marriage or engagement that it's almost arranged, maybe not actually or absolutely, but very much so has the approval of the two legacies that stand to be joined together, meaning ancestors, way showers, immediate family, maybe just the alignment of the universal alignment and approval, where the divine very much so ordains, endorses, and anoints this union. But very much so in an actual and physical way, as we have the King and Queen of Pentacles here. I got the sense that there was a lot that may have stood in between these two coming together as naturally as it appears that they are destined to do so. In some ways, there may have been some interferences or intrusions that were hyper infused, but also in ways that were natural to the grooming of these parties to be ready for one another. I saw particularly that there were some lessons of selection and submission that were underway for both to embark upon, specifically the masculine selectivity and recognizing a premium choice in its midst, and that, kind of learning by experience, by firsthand encounter, that although there may appear to be many options and choices in the world, many fish in the sea, as they say, that there are also many that are incomparable to that of what is, like a true match. There really only are a few, if you're lucky, one with privilege that you can say you feel a true connection to. And I felt something along the lines of like a lesson in submission for the Queen of Pentacles, but not just to whomever, particularly to any man, but kind of learning how to discern the right type of man, the worthy type of prospect of partnership to fully submit to, and then learning on the other end of perhaps disappointments and perhaps her own set of poor choices, how to fully make self available in a partnership or a committed dynamic such as this, in a way that feels safe and secure to fully be, and to fully serve and exchange intimacy. But yeah, as I said, it feels very much so like engagement, because I found these two when I split the deck. And this is where they were both on either side, and these were the cards on the top of each side of the deck. So it doesn't feel like necessarily a union yet, but as I said, it's like there's like so much security and endorsement and agreement from what may be like some type of other realm or past like past predecessors, maybe on a much deeper level than I'm sensing, than I'm depicting here, that's being depicted here. But there's something so deep rootedly ordained and approved of by this union, there's a certain insurance and security and protection over the matter of these two beings to, without a doubt, inevitably come together as one solid singular unit. And it also has the potential to, expand like two very successful, powerful, wealthy, affluent, maybe even talented people coming together is just going to compound the empires that they could have governed on their own into something massive that has that has a multiplied effect of impact, influence, and success, and perhaps empowerment for the two of them individually and then collectively. And as I see it, has the ability to be a forwarding force for their predecessors combined, for those that have come before them, to carry on a legacy again individually, but then as something altogether new, as one. And also huge potential to lay just a very firm and fervent foundation for a legacy that will live on beyond them. Yeah, so that's that on that. That's really cool. What's up, everybody? It's me, Danae. I'm here with a message for you. It's Thursday, August 27th, 2026. Let's see, what time is it? It's 7:27 on the clock. And I'm using the Mahogany Tarot deck by Cashapp Hickson. And let's just see what we got here. We got the full moon and lunar eclipse coming up on Saturday, I believe. I'm pretty sure it's Saturday. And yeah, govern yourselves accordingly. Don't overextend or overexert. Get your rest. Don't be trying to manifest too much, or some may say anything particularly. Just kind of let the energy do some clearing work for you, and bring some closure to long existing chapters and seasons, perhaps even lifetimes that have been in circulation, and just like kind of allow yourself to regenerate for what is yet to come. Yeah, it's gonna be, it should be pretty interesting, whatever that is. All right, so let's see what we got. I haven't really watched all of Bridgerton. I think I watched maybe like the first season, maybe half of the second. Definitely didn't get beyond that, then beyond the second season, if I even watched the whole of it. But I just heard that title in my head, and it definitely, when I was thinking about like old world, marriages that had to be approved by families and predecessors, and like there had to be a meeting of the minds about who you could wed at certain times, and hell, still today in some cultures, that's what it was given. If you want to have perhaps maybe a more colorful point of reference, with all the bells and whistles of the importance and the opulence of the two energies that are said to unite. That's what is given, like very rich and powerful legacies that are about to come together as one and just completely magnify and multiply their lots, maybe even furthering the family business or the family names in some way. But it's yeah. High society, as as Kev says. Elite. Come on, what we doing here? Can I get a card? So elite a secret? Oh, not the Wheel of Fortune. That turned around, but I'm going to keep it. The Wheel of Fortune in reverse. What's that about? I feel like that's something wanting to put a stop to it. Trying to fight destiny. Which is why it was turned over and flipped around. It didn't even show itself upright and reverse, because there's some secret energies that just don't want to see this happen. Yeah, probably working real hard to accomplish that, but the Wheel of Fortune can't be turned over on its head. It just can't be. That's destiny. That's time, which can't be stopped. That's divine order. That's fate. Let me get one in between these two. Well, somebody's working hard, maybe having no luck in what they're trying to accomplish, but not without the effort of trying. Oh, that was the Empress. Ooh, what'd I say? That was the Empress that flipped in and flipped out, and then here's the Lovers. Let me get some water. My throat is scratchy. Yeah, it's like somebody doesn't want these vows to be professed, but like I said, this is something that it's already been written. It's already been established. It's already been announced. It's like might as well be a damn save the date, because it's already underway. It's like somebody making plans to, charge the altar, or stop the ceremony, object, be that one. I did hear that too in the pre-shuffle, when if there's anyone here that doesn't see a lawful reason why these two why these two should wed, speak now or forever hold your peace. Like somebody wants to be the one to just completely disrupt and disturb the whole affair, let alone the marriage itself, or at least to always be a cog in the connection. That's like their life's work, their life's mission. That's dangerous work right there. You pretty much are going to get rolled over because the wheel of fortune turned upside down. Like the inertia of evolution is going to have it turn forward at some point in time, and there's any energy that's trying to stop it is going to find themselves crushed under it. That's just, it's really literally just how it is. It's not a threat, it's just physics of the, like, I don't even know, like it just, it's the law. It's literally the law. And it's also like somebody wants to disturb to just really stop this union, which could account for, like I said, all the things that were going on inorganically to hold it back, to keep it at, keep it from coming together, when perhaps this energy was up under the will and there were still lessons to be learned and maturing and growing to be done. That was all admissible, but being in the upright as it was depicted in the beginning, being ready, able, on the same page, on one accord, both on the same level to move ahead, is just not, there is no objection that will be sustained in this union, before, during, or after. So somebody literally is going to have to hold their peace at some point in time. They may not have realized it yet, but they will. They'll realize that there's literally nothing that they can do to stop this, to block this, to destroy this, to interfere, to interject. That hasn't already been done before, learn from and transmute it for the highest good. Look at this, y'all. Oh my gosh. This is what they want to make of it all. Like, to just completely desecrate it, diminish it. Yeah, somebody really has some very, very evil intentions. Either toward a union that they have no access to or no leverage in, or person perhaps, but maybe on account of something coming together, or an opportunity. It could be that as well. If they're working really hard to gain access to some level of privilege. I was talking about like nobility and aristocrat and Bridgerton, like they high society, like somebody wants to be included in some type of I don't know, like wants to be either included or embraced on some level of society, or perceived to be of it. Could also be the case. And they've done all that they could to change their fate. But with the wheel of fortune in the reverse, to me, it just says that, like I was saying before, something unnatural here, perhaps even diabolical, that they devoted their energy to gain access to the privileges that a lover's energy is I don't know what the word is, the well, I guess the fortune, here it is, the fortune that a lover's energy has privileges in or access to. Mm. Somebody really, it's like they've made some type of, or they did, or they are, I don't, probably did more than anything, made some type of agreement, like a demonic agreement or contracts. They're binded some type of way to an agreement that they thought would be profitable and highly beneficial for them. Like they thought they could somehow like buy their way into society, or I don't know. They did something strange for change. Or they are doing something strange for change, but like I said, it's against the natural order of things. It's not written in their fate, either to have the thing that they are pursuing. I would say that they're even not just pursuing, because that's too nice, like obsessed with. Yeah, to have something that they're obsessed with, or to obtain it in the way that they're trying to do so, or that they have tried to do so. Like I was saying in the beginning, it's like for those two folks to come into alignment and to become viable prospects for partnership one to another, there were some things that had to be managed in between them, individually and collectively, but more individually for the purpose of a collectivity. That's probably not a word, but this is someone that either, it's like they put all their energy in all the shortcuts and all the like the taboo ways of, or the deceptive ways of acquiring the same fortune with what they thought would be less of the work, or without getting around doing all of that dirty work altogether. But they committed themselves to a different type of dirty work that, in my opinion, was just as exhausting. And in the end, we know contracts such as this are never really fair, and the one that is binded is never, well, let's say the terms never work out in their favor in the long run, and certainly not eternally. There's always something unfavorable in the contract as far as they're concerned. So it's like somebody did hella work, but just it's like they almost either got tricked or were eluded in some type of way in their mind to believe that the work that they actually did was better invested than the work, maybe because there were immediate results or access that they were, immediate reward and return, but it wasn't sustainable. But they believed because there was, Eight of Pentacles is definitely something coming in, something generating, manufacturing, something was, materializing from their efforts, which could make it seem as though it's worth the effort. But in the long run, if it's not aligned with your divine order, in divine order, and with your personal fate and fortune, it'll all be for naught. It will have someone sitting looking at all that's resulted in the end, wishing that they had just done it the hard way, of which they perceived to be the hard way in the first place. Because not only would it have been at least the same amount of energy exerted in the same amount of time, it probably would have been less, in the grand scheme of things, less exhausting to devote yourself to a cause, a destiny that truly is your own and organic to you, and you would have something to show for your efforts in the present moment, and also to last. Have some future projection of prosperity. Everything stops with the Devil card as far as that Eight of Pentacles is concerned. Everything that you do is going to be ultimately, is like, when you sign on the dotted line with, a major label that isn't, integral. And even the ones that probably are, there's still probably stipulations that just are not going to be in favor of the signee for the most part, the client or whatever. But let's think, retrospectively, back in the day when you signed your name on in some type of like contract or deal, and you don't know all the ins and outs, but you got that real nice advance, and it puts you in a position that you've never been in before, and you have a lot of access, and you begin to accumulate fame and notoriety, and you're doing what you love to do for the most part. And then all of a sudden, when things turn sour, or there's something that you don't want to do, or that is not allowed in your contract, or there's a discrepancy between the label and yourself, or God forbid, you just stop producing, stop selling, stop, attracting success and money for the most part. Like, you literally stop manufacturing for the entity. I hear this so much more mystical than anything now. When you stop being of value, pretty much, you realize that you were far more indebted to that label, that organization, that entity, than you realized you were when you were still binded to it or in contract to it. And in some ways you still are, because now everything that you were fronted, or you like that everything that you were gifted, you realize you actually were paying for, or that you still owe for, especially on account of what you're no longer producing. So it's like somebody thought that they had a good deal because it was lucrative, maybe even extremely profitable at a time, as they were proved to be valuable. But now the wheel is turned, their luck has changed perhaps, or the tide has changed, and now that they're no longer valuable, they realize that they have a lot of debt to pay back. And that entity, whether it be a business, a label, a person, an organization, a cause, whatever the case, like maybe even their own vices or possessions or obsessions, is not so graceful. Those terms are binding, and whatever it is that is owed must be repaid. And if you can't repay, then that's a whole nother layer of an issue, that just more or less keeps one captivated to perhaps a place and space or an association that they no longer even want to be a part of. But they may not feel like, because of the binding terms, they have the liberty to say, or to release themselves without great penalty or persecution or prosecution, or consequence, perhaps even something violent or detriment, some type of detriment to their well-being, in addition to losing everything that they either perceived as highly valuable, perhaps because they measured their value in it or by it. It's like somebody was trying to buy their way into notoriety, prestige, fame, fortune, respect, affluence, like just to be somebody important, but the way that they were going about it, yeah, it wasn't it. And so now what? Now they want to ruin it for other people? Like, is that what it's giving here? Because, like, where I was going with this about trying to stop other people's shine or other people's advancement, progress. Or is that what they've been commissioned to do? I don't know. And they're finding it hard to produce that result and that outcome. Yeah, that could be it. Like being the interruption and the interference, made like almost being a minion of the darkness to create dissension and to create disruption, disturbance, to derail natural alignments, to steal fortunes that they have no jurisdiction over, or that are not assigned to them. Maybe even to steal identities. Or pose as, pose in the energy of a lover's, which is ultimately just like a supreme being, like someone well-to-do, someone important, to kind of be a poser of that energy for a lesser cause, to lead others astray or to distract others, with this deceptive, on account of this deceptive agenda. I just heard a mom say, "Get out of there," and the kid was like, "No." Yeah, somebody was putting themselves in a space that they never earned the right to be in. They did, like I said, they didn't do the work. They didn't do the internal reflection, the soul searching, the wisdom seeking, the grooming and growing. Like, they just wore the costume of an ascended being, of a divine being, a supreme being. They just wore the air of it, but they didn't really earn the rights to it. It's like when you see in those what show was that? Oh, I think that was the Gilded Age. Yeah, oh, so somebody could have been literally like a fraud or some type of like charlatan in one regard, or like maybe a scammer in modern terms. But I'm thinking of the Gilded Age, when the rich family son got swindled by the girl who claimed that she was like Rockefeller's daughter, and she had this whole scheme set up, that she had this, and that she needed, he thought he was scamming her. Oh, this is interesting. So somebody was caught up in something. Okay, all right, listen to this. He thought he was from a rich high society family. I forget. I think I forget their name, but it was the family where the two sisters, older sisters, lived together. And then The one sister had the son, but the husband had died, and that's how they had inherited most of their wealth. And the son was kind of a jerk off, to be honest. Like, he was always on some other stuff, like not really too trustworthy, but he had the cushion and the leverage of his family's money to kind of like move about however he so choose. And he encountered this woman who was beautiful, although he wasn't even interested in women secretly. He was actually a homosexual, but he was so glamored by, listen to this, y'all. This is something here. He was glamored by her affluence. Like, she seemed like a golden ticket, and she also seemed like naive and docile, to which was the act that she was putting on, as if she needed him because he was a financial and finances in some type of regard. She needed his expertise to help guide how she would invest her family's money, and ultimately, invest it in a way that it could grow, that it could grow. And so he was supposed to be acting as her investor, and she kind of lured him in, had this whole setup, whole office setup, everything about some private investment opportunity that she was kind of letting him in on the back end, that only he was privy to. And of course he was excited about that, because he was longing to kind of break away from the stigma of just kind of being mama's boy, and he wanted to make a name for himself. But again, he wasn't really living up to the standard of what it really takes to be a man of affluence, honorably and justifiably. He was very much so living off of mama, but saw an opportunity to kind of like assert his independence, and also to kind of prove his, an ego flex, to prove I do know what I'm doing. I do have what it takes to be the patriarch of this bloodline and stuff like that. So anyway, she lured him in, made him believe that she had this secret investment, that she needed his help on, but knowing his character, that once he saw what it was, that he was going to want to get in on it. So unbeknownst to his mama, he took all of that they had, for the most part, that he could get his hands on, invested it into this ordeal, because he thought it was legit, and for all the other reasons that I said, only to find out one fateful day that it was all a scam, that the girl was, and he was even willing to marry her. That was the other thing. So this could even been somebody that literally married for opportunity, for money. He was willing to marry her. I think they were even engaged, or that's what he was gearing up to, even though he wasn't even interested in women. But that's how far his greed and gluttony for wealth had grown, even though he had it already, So one day he shows up at the office that had always been staged to be something legit before, and it was like cleared out down to the freaking like every piece of furniture, almost to the studs, like every piece of furniture, no presence of anyone, the name on the door, it was as if it never existed. And it was at that moment he knew he fucked up, lost his money. And then there was some like, big surprising moment where he ran across someone who was, making his money through like the railroad, one of the main characters in the movie. And he was, talking to him. He thought I think it was after the fact. I mean, no, before the fact, before he was about to go to the office, where he's like, kind of like bragging about this deal he just made. Yeah, he saw him in the street, and he's like kind of flexing, like, yeah, you'll pretty much like ask about me, or you'll hear about me in a minute, like you ain't on this type of thing. And the dude is like, if that was real, I would know about. There was some disproving fact that he knew that like sent shivers down his spine, and then he ran to the office only to realize that the whole operation had picked up shop and was nowhere to be found. And I think he did track her down at some point in one of the following episodes, because I think that was like a finale. Like I think in the next season he tracked her down, and she was like working in like a speakeasy slash whorehouse, like a brothel, let's say, type of spot. Back to her old tricks, and in fact she had gotten swindled. This is deep. Something about this resonates for what I'm picking up on. She had gotten swindled. The swindler swindled the swindler and then got swindled, because she had to go back to her old tricks and pretty much, being, one of them, just to make ends meet. So in the end, everybody got played, and unfortunately, the family whose money it was diminished almost to their complete demise and banishment from high society, to where they would have had to sell the house and move and so on and so forth. Except that the other aunt, surprisingly, who was a spinster for a long time, got married to a priest late in life. He ended up having a sudden death that nobody, that was unexpected. And no one knew that he was actually filthy rich. So the sister that used to kind of be like submissive to the wealthy inherited sister, they ended up switching roles. And now the sister who was kind of the little sister, who was the older sister that was never married, ended up being the matriarch of the house. All of that. 8 o'clock on the dot as the phone lights up. Get into that drama. And I mean, and here it is, Gilded Age. It's like something, I don't know, something about like those old times. I don't know what the connection is with that yet, but bring it up to date, modernize it in a way that is very applicable to today's time, to present time, where someone thought they were scamming, thought they had to drop on some type of in or privilege, or again, like they weaseled their way into high society, or it was like dog with a bone syndrome, where they were already well to do, but they wanted more. And so they thrust themselves into the throes of darkness, really, into some type of, what do you call it, like underworld of sorts, thinking that they had the jump and they were the wiser in the association, that they were going to extract all that they could and, pretty much come up on the ignorance, or, just being clever enough to be able to come up, or thought they were valuable enough to come up in a way that would still allow them to maintain their privilege and their posture or persona as this upright individual, while reaping the spoils of something that's quite contrary. And as I said, they lost their position. It's like somebody lost their fortune. They lost their fortune because they gambled it. They lost their position. They've embarrassed their bloodline. They've embarrassed their legacy. They binded themselves to people, places, and things that literally have no well-meaning for them, that are only self-serving. And now what? Like, look at this shit. This is all they got left to show for it. And they better be happy they got that much, for real, messing with the damn devil. Because they might owe that too. This is all they have to show for it. What else with that? And they've been demoted, degraded, depleted, disrespected, Is like they went from someone that maybe had a place in high society to someone that has been like banished from it, or that just literally doesn't have the means to fit the bill, maybe actually fit the bill, what it takes to kind of present in that way, or literally to be associated with such a class. It's like their reputation is spoiled. I just heard somebody's being blackmailed. Which is why it's looking like somebody, like I said, somebody still owe, because they're indebted. It's because now someone doesn't want it to be known, all the underworld shit that was going on. It's like they're still trying to save what remnant is left of their face, of their reputation, perhaps, to be considered at all of, because remember I started this about people being good prospects for coming together, like two powerful houses or legacies coming together. It's like somebody doesn't want to be demoted from a pool of prospects that would either add value to them by name or by association or by marriage. I was reading that too. Like I was looking at the different, because I was trying to find a word for when you marry, when two, like if there's a modern word for when two rich people marry, and there were different words, and it was like, I forget it's something with the H. But there is a word for when people marry based on similarities of culture, wealth, and there was something else. I forget what the other thing was. And then there's all different ways. Like there's also a word for when you marry up and when you marry down. And it's like somebody dreads being a married down type of prospect when they're used to presenting as a marry up, like to be aristocratic in a sense, to be someone that's revered as like a premium prospect for partnership, somebody that you would look at like a high value man or woman, whatever applies. Someone is feeling diminished in their value. Quite literally, they always must have been to even hook up with this type of energy, but quite actually now, because they can't even put on the airs anymore. They can't even put on the costume, the front. Like when you like a scammer, it's particularly like a romance scammer, you got to at least have something to lead with at first, unless you're really, really good, and you just know how. But in this day and age, if you really want to sell it, you literally got to sell it. You got to look the part, smell the part, talk the part. You got to kind of have something to present for at least some time, at least, for a little while, to allure your next target or your next mark, or literally to fake it till you make it, until you can get what it is that you're pretending to have. But somebody's been diminished in such a way that they can't even pretend anymore. They literally don't have it. They may not have the energy, the time, the resources, the costume, the access, the like almost having like a sponsor or something, the affiliations, the associations, like something like that. They don't have it. It's like everything that they acquire is already accounted for what they already owe. Literally, like, consider, practically speaking, a celebrity that falls from stardom, from their fame and fortune. where they can't live off of the credit anymore. They're not producing anymore. They owe their governing entities. They owe, and creditors in their life, or for things that they've acquired. They are underwater and everything. They literally don't have it to act like they're, to give off the lifestyles of the rich and famous vibe anymore. So that has a ripple effect on who will really fool with you, like literally, like who will even take you seriously. Friends, fair weather friends will start falling off, or people start judging you, and you lose the social credit and clout to make waves where you could before. Like somebody just doesn't have the motion anymore. They don't have the motion. And they trying to buy it back, but what's in between the Devil and the Page of Pentacles? It's like somebody literally needs that coin to eat. Like I said, they better be happy they got damn that. This took a turn. How do we get here? Like, maybe this, I don't know. Oh, now they don't want to say nothing, huh? Seven of Pentacles. It's like all that they invested, for all the work, all the dedication, all the risks, all the gambles that were taken for a long time. They were in it for the long run. This is all that's left of it. Literally, one pentacle here, one pentacle here. And see where it's literally like they may still have some funds like wrapped up in something, or they thought they did, like I was saying, but it's whatever this is tied up into something. It's tied up into some type of affiliation, organization. Like I said, creditors that are owed, debtors, I guess, debtors, perhaps. Everything is tied up. It's already accounted for. This could be practical, but it actually could be something darker than that. It could even just be karmic debt. Yes, Wheel of Fortune in reverse. That's what it is. If it's not, financial, which it probably is materialized to that. But like I said, on account of all that they've done to put themselves in all that they've done unrighteously to put themselves in an unjustified position, an unlawful position, perhaps, by divine standards. That's what it's like that's what they owe for now. All of that retribution has to be accounted for. For all the shortcuts, all the deceptions, all the lies, the manipulations, the laws, spiritual or otherwise, that were broken, the corners that were cut, the facades that were projected, all of that has to be accounted for. And it could even be like just people wanting answers, or passing like I was saying, like it doesn't have to be money, but it puts someone at a deficit and a deficiency, especially in terms, like they can't get credit. They can't get social credit, actual credit, nothing, because they've burned too many bridges, or they've been exposed in too many ways. the Gilded Age story. By the way, that's a series on HBO or Max, whatever it is now. He brought a lot of shame to his family by his actions, or what he thought was about to be the come up. He made a laughing stock of himself, and he almost brought utter shame to his family if it wasn't for the spinster sister saving the day with the dead husband. That's fucked up to say, but that's the only thing that brought them out of it. So other than that, like, they would have been thrust out of high society just on account of the fact that they no longer had the funds, and also the embarrassment, which shame was like, that was a real thing back then. All right, moving on, a couple more. Six of Cups. Oh, man, yeah. It's like all the things of the past are now coming back to haunt them. Things that probably were wins in the past, but now it's like somebody's having to pay for it on the back end. They got it on the front end, but they having to pay for it on the back end. This is like giving people from shit coming up from every which way, like, you owe me. You like, remember this, remember that, remember that, that I owe you. Remember that time I let you borrow such and such. Hold on. What else with this Six of Cups? The Magician. Hold on, what's with this Magician? It's in the upright, but let's see. What's on the bottom? Well, still the Six of Wands. I mean, what I get the sense off the back is for what they've manifested, like work that they did in the past that was successful. But it's like the debt is still owed nonetheless at the most inopportune time, because it's like getting the bill now. If someone may have gotten the bill way back when for work that they did to put themselves in a certain position, they had it to cover back then. But it's now like I was saying before with the label shit, it's like now you get the bill at this point, you like, wait, what is this? But wait, I didn't know I had to pay for this. What is interest on what? Gratuity here? This, like all these hidden charges and fees that once upon a time you could have covered, but you didn't need to cover at that time. Now that it's actually time to pay up and it's due, this is the dire moment because they don't have it to pay. And trying to, again, like reach back to old acquaintances or something, like something about the past here that's trying to be invoked or conjured. Maybe even preying on contacts or old connections that were like kind of easy to finesse or something like that. Yeah, like they're trying to go back to some old scam or scheme. That's what I'm saying. Remember I said something about like how the girl had to go back to, working in the brothel pretty much. It's like they're trying to go back to a way that they used to, like a sure way to make some money, or a sure way to find a mark or a target or something. But what? Because let's see what that yields. It's like they're trying to go back to square one to do it all over again, but the times have changed. That luck has run out. That luck has run out. Today's prices are not yesterday's prices with this Hierophant. Yeah, it's like a different order here. A different, like answering to a different authority, or like a different, the conventions of society as they were are not conducive in that same way presently, where you could just like, oh, I'll just go hit another lick or find another mark, or somebody gullible, or seduce somebody into trusting me, and then I get their money or take their energy or love bomb them, or what, like that's what somebody's trying to or would like to gear up to do, something that is like an old hustle that pretty much they perfected in a way. They got it down to almost a science, but the elements have changed. It's not going to hit the same. And even still, not only is it not as lucrative because it's not the right alignment for that type of energy, like for deception to rule and reign, any more than it's the alignments for record labels to keep swindling people, the gullible, and the not just the gullible, because like I hate to say naive, but just people that just want to express themselves, want to be a part, that is like there's too much awareness and awakening, even though people still signing deals, but for the most part, it's known that that's not the only way to become notable, in whatever way you want to be. That's not the only way to be successful in whatever expression you would like to be. So there's so many independent ways you could do what you need to do without the binding, without bad contracts, without people dictating to you how you do what you do or spend your money, or without the baggage and the chains that there aren't near there. The pool of prospects is not nearly as vast today as it once was, when you thought that was the only way you could do a thing and be successful and rich and profitable doing it, that you considered yourself lucky to be chosen that way. So it's like for someone to want to go back to that, where it depends on some type of gullibility or naivete, or to for people to be easily manipulated and seduced. There are far more people that are on alert, even though people who you might judge, aesthetically, and say, oh, they'll be an easy target, or that once were easy to target. It's too much awareness about people trying to scam and creating false personas and lying. It's like people that have been doing that for years are getting exposed. So people that are just trying to get back into the flow, it's just inevitable that you're not going to be that successful, and ultimately you are going to be exposed. And for someone, that might be the the brick wall that they hit, because they've already been exposed, or are being exposed for their transgressions. And so it's not, they would literally have to go find a whole nother pool of people that don't know anything about them to start fresh all over again or present themselves a certain way, which is virtually impossible, especially when you think about the internet, and how easy it is just to look somebody up that may even have a case or, something like that, or been in some type of trouble or has some type of social trail behind them to attest to their character. And then even on a spiritual end, like, just people are much more sensitive to when they're being deceived. Contrary to popular belief, they just are. Now, how they respond is a whole nother thing. How they protect themselves is another thing as well. But usually people know when they're being conned, or when something doesn't sound right or feel right. So if you got a business, exactly, Four of Cups. So if you got a business that depends on people kind of like drinking the Kool-Aid that you pouring up, it's going to be a hard sell. It's like the only way to be profitable and prosperous is to literally sell your authenticity, to be so for real. To be so for real, exactly. The whole time I've been kind of talking about celebrity, and then here it is. Yeah, you can't just fake it till you make it into being a real star. Celebrity is faint. That light is fainting. But to be a real star, lover's energy, where when nobody's looking, you are the moment. There's a certain level of privilege and favor and prosperity and abundance, maybe even luck, good fortune, that just kind of orbits your midst. You can't fake that. That's evident. It speaks for itself. It's contagious. It's infectious. It has a trail. It precedes you even. It lingers when you leave the room. It's like that essence can't be faked anymore. You're either going to cultivate that organically and sincerely, or you're not. And everybody has a choice to make in that regard, but you can't expect to profit off of the shortcuts anymore, off of the lies, off the deceptions, and the false projections. It just doesn't pay like it used to, and it's going to ultimately cause far more debt and destruction, and detriment to just your natural habitat, like just surviving, than anything. Yep. And any level, or like on any level of life. If you're working a 9 to 5, you can't be on no fuck shit. If you're aspiring to something extraordinary, you can't be on no fuck shit. Like, you just can't. And if you had something extraordinary, you can't be on no fuck shit, or you won't keep it. And if you acquire it and then you get on some fuck shit, you'll be brought back down to humble beginnings. So it's just like everybody is being held to a high standard of true identity. That's just the way it goes now. So anyway, thanks for listening and watching. Until next time, as always, I'll leave you with peace.